Hi. Welcome back. So, it's in. The engine is in. Oh my gosh, the engine is in. That's all I gotta do, right? Well, maybe a little bit more than that. The engine is in, but it's only just resting on a cart. It's not attached to the car at all. I wanted to get it in there because my brain was breaking trying to imagine and visualize and measure dimensions and relations to stuff. And so this is the next logical step for an illogical person like myself. And so what does this tell us? It tells us that despite this engine's diminutive size, it's a pretty tight fit. It's not impossible. Nothing is ever impossible. It's just, how much work do we need to do to, rather, how much work do I need to do to make sure that it fits comfortably, functionally, with good service access, good, structural soundness around everything, and that it's not going to fall apart on the road or hurt myself or anybody else. What I've learned is that the exhaust, we'll do like a cutaway. I'll show you because I still have the actual Honda Fit that this came out of. The firewall differences, and despite a lot of stuff being almost identically laid out, there are some important differences. So I'll show you what the inside of the Honda Fit engine bay looks like. And frankly, what is probably going to have to happen is I'm going to transfer a lot of the firewall and possibly some of the floor pan that it transitions into from the Honda into this car. Because the floor pan in here, it has some issues. And it just would seem to make most sense for if I'm going to use a Honda engine, just use how Honda kind of designed and laid everything out in that car. So we'll show you some close-ups, but we have the way the exhaust comes out of the engine. It almost kind of runs directly into the steering rack, and that's fine. We are going to probably have to tweak the exhaust manifold by heating it up, like mounting it on some really heavy steel and heating it up and to like red hot, so it's nice and sort of pliable, and kind of tweak it up higher. And you're like, well, what sense does that make? Well, in the Honda Fit, the exhaust kind of exits from the manifold over the top of the steering rack. It's, I guess, their solution to prevent the exhaust from kind of running down in between the steering rack and the drive shafts coming out of the transmission. And apparently it works in the Honda Fit, and so why don't I just take that brilliant idea and go with that. Another slight point of interference is the back of the transmission itself is kind of up against the steering rack housing itself, and so that's all well and good, and also the front water pulley that drives the water pulley from that side of the engine. I'll show you that cutaway, is pretty close to touching the sheet metal that kind of boxes in the lower front of the car. So kind of my solution to buying myself a little bit more space in this engine bay that doesn't have a lot of space would probably be to just take this engine as it is and kind of around the center line of the crankshaft, just kind of tilt the engine back about maybe between 5 and 10 degrees. And what that will do is that will free up space in the front and space in the back. And it will still make the exhaust even tighter. So I'm going to have to take that into account when I modify that. But that should buy us pretty much all the space that we need. And also it will free up a little bit more space from the front of the engine where it's kind of, where it would be close to mounting behind the radiator. So that is kind of my quick, solution to that. I mean, it's not ideal to, to tilt an engine in its configuration, but it's not going to be a radical, shifting of like 20 degrees or anything like that. So the oil pickups in the oil pan should be fine and able to cope with that, no problem. The lubrication system shouldn't have an issue with anything. I really can't foresee anything that this would cause an issue for. I mean, and cars are made to be driven up inclines, like going up a mountain pass for 15, 20 minutes, and still operating very well within incline parameters. So I'm not going to be radically changing this placement very much, but things do need to be changed. One of the things that I might have to retain from the old Fiat 128 configuration is, do I have it in the box here? Right now, I don't see it right in front of me. Is the acceleration, or is the torque rod that manages when the engine is under load, acceleration or deceleration. It wants to kind of turn on its engine mounts. When you're accelerating, you got the wheels going this way, so the engine has a desire to kind of roll back in its engine mounts from torque. And the Fiat solution was to place a rod in this little mounting here, and it kind of comes forward and ties into a plate that was mounted on the head of the Fiat engine. As far as space goes, I might have to do something similar in that respect, because there is just like almost zero room down here in the front of the engine. So, I mean, that's something that I had in mind that was going to be a possibility, but man, it just seems like that's one of the things I'm going to have to do. That's life. So yeah, why don't we step outside? It's actually, the sun kind of came out finally. It's been crazy cold. It's been a weird winter and a weird spring. Anyway, let's take a look at the Honda Fit engine bay, and you guys can get a better idea of what I'm yammering on about. Here we are in the Honda Fit engine bay. This is firewalled. The Honda, they separated the like a lower subframe, which has the steering rack and the suspension, the lower suspension points and control arms attached to that, and it's a good solution. Fiat, it's just like all one firewall. I'm not going to separate I'm not going to do any of this that Honda did, but how they have the firewall up here, this is, like where the exhaust ties in. I'm probably going to chop out, a lot of this, and actually probably need to take the mounting points for the Uh, the master cylinders and the brake booster from the Honda. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably just use everything. You know, basically almost use everything how Honda had it laid out. Uh, because I don't have any space for the brake booster, the original brake booster in the Fiat, because that's going to be interfering with how the shifter cables come out and tie in with the transmission. So yeah, it's going to be, I mean, and this is also one of the really good reasons why you want to keep, if you're doing like a conversion, you need to have the vehicle that you're pulling all the stuff out of kind of with you, so you can have as much sheet metal and stuff available to you, so that you can pirate all this stuff off and reuse it. And of course, you know, all this Honda stuff is really good quality steel and very well engineered. Yeah, I'm gonna basically probably be cutting this out and replacing this in the Fiat firewall. And you know, the steering rack looks like it kind of mounts right there, the mounts for it, and so there's going to be basically almost like a tunnel that kind of going diagonally down through the bottom of the Fiat. It's going to be interesting. It'll be an adventure, but that's kind of what you guys are here to see, right? An adventure that maybe I'll fail doing. Anyway, yeah, there's really good frame members that I can cut pieces out of to add into the Fiat engine bay, and yeah, it's of course not as straightforward as I would have hoped, but that's basically what I expected. Nothing is, and that's okay. That's what I signed up for. If it was easy, it wouldn't be worth doing. I don't know, maybe it would be worth doing. But yeah, I'm kind of a hard-headed nutcase. I think it looks kind of cool. Okay, so yeah, this is the mount for the power brake booster and the master cylinder mounted in front of it. This is that booster, little pumpkin. Yeah, I mean there's no way that's even going to fit, let alone having what is this, 7 or 8 inches, 7 probably of inches, like sticking beyond that. This transmission is just, I guess, it's too big, just how it was designed. I mean, possibly if there was like no power brakes, you know, maybe mounting it that way. But even then, that's probably not a realistic thing. So that's why I'm probably going to go with the Honda firewall, where yeah, I don't know, maybe I could use the stock brake booster and the stock master cylinder, just mount it on the firewall, how the Honda is, because the Honda's is actually really, it's like probably at least a good foot in diameter, and I would have to probably lower that. So perhaps I can use this brake booster and like a master cylinder like that mounted on the Honda firewall with the Honda, you know, foot cluster and everything like that. I don't know. It's just I've got space up here for stuff, and yeah, I do need to fit the wiper, you know, stuff in here, but I'm going to keep this car as simple as possible. And so, yeah, I just thought I would share that development. Ta-da! Okay, some just little quick progress for today. I took off the exhaust header manifold and I tilted the engine back about, I don't know, enough enough to clear the steering rack with the back of the transmission and the front up here. And everything seems like it's actually going to be fitting a lot better. And one thing that I wasn't even thinking about is that once this little car is holding the weight of this engine, it's going to pitch down a little bit, and so it'll offset me tipping the engine back. So I think it's all going to be a working compromise. Yeah, I was just going to show you, well, a couple of things. I took apart one of those stupid TV stands, and it had like these like triangle pieces. These are like almost 1/8 inch, nice heavy things, and it looks like it will almost, with a little bit of modification and one big hole in the center on either side, start the process of creating a strut brace, tying the two towers together, because when I start cutting into this to add in the Honda frame rails, I'm going to have to balance how much frame rails that I'm going to add in here versus how much of this sheet metal that I'm going to cut out. But there is going to have to be some intrusion into the shock tower well, but because I made these coilovers, the springs themselves are much more compact than the stock diameter springs, and so I have some room to kind of go in here a little bit, and it should work. And what was a sort of a pleasant surprise, I'll try to not talk too loudly when I'm this close to the camera, is, so yeah, I was using just like this sort of straight cut in the engine bay as sort of my datum, and I kind of getting ready to use that to make sort of a level decision for using for mounting the engine mounts within this sheet metal. And it turns out that when the engine is tilted back, the appropriate amount, this is sort of like this red line here is sort of the equivalent engine mount height, from the engine. So it's actually almost completely parallel. And so that is a nice thing to be able to continue to work with. That makes things a little bit easier to just kind of keep everything equal side to side. That I'm going by kind of what has already been established. So yeah, it's coming along. I know. You're like, geez, Chris, just why don't you? Let me show my face. We're not here to listen to your careful measurements. We want to see sparks flying and sheet metal cutting and cussing and blood and all that stuff. Yeah, so do I. But it's always, in these kind of circumstances, you want to like measure like 1,000 times before you start cutting into stuff. And yes, metal can be cut and re-welded, but doing your homework ahead of doing that will just pay off in massive dividends. And I am going into a lot of detail because some other guys on the forums have expressed interest in this whole concept too of using a Honda Fit engine in a Fiat 128 sort of application. So that's why I'm kind of being a little bit detail oriented and fastidious in my presentations. Anyway, it looks like, yes, the light is much brighter at the end of this tunnel. I will be making up like the strut race. I'll film that. And I will absolutely start filming when I start cutting in and cutting into all this stuff. It's it should not be compromising any structure at all. I'm going to be adding in a lot more stiffness, hopefully, into this. Anyway, if anybody sees anything that I don't see in these videos, please tell me I'm an idiot. I already know that, by the way. But yeah, so I will give you like one more like little payoff, just because it's just kind of like a nice, neat little thing to see. This car, when I got it, it had those little roof strips, sort of like aluminum strips with like a little rubber channel down the center for, I guess, mounting stuff on the roof. And what had happened over the course of 40 years is all the roof penetrations, water had started leaking in through the roof, and it had stained the headliner and the visors and everything like that. And it ain't pretty. I'm hoping that I can salvage everything, but yeah, I'll show you kind of what I'm doing with the visors, and it's a nice, neat little payoff as far as being able to get something cleaned up on this car. So let's jump on that. Okay. So this is one of the visors from the Fiat 128, and you're sitting in there and you're like, oh, okay, it's not too bad. Why does it smell so musty? And then you flip it over and you're like, oh my God, look at that. And it's just mildewy, nasty, just junk. So yeah, I was like, well, I wonder if I can salvage these at all. And this is just what I did. I always keep toothbrushes. I mean, it drives my wife crazy. She's like, why do you always keep all these old toothbrushes? Because they're incredibly useful. This one, I've just trimmed the bristles down so that they're a little bit stiffer, a little bit easier, and you just get some bleach. Bleach like so. Now you do not want to get bleach on anything metal. It's an oxidizer, and when it comes in contact with metal, it oxidizes metal. And what is oxidized metal? It's rust. Either that or aluminum oxide or anything else. Yeah, it will cause corrosion in a heartbeat. And if that's what you want, if you want to like patina something, bleach is a fantastic patina maker, but you really have to be careful with the application and make sure you get it off afterwards. All right, so yeah, I mean, you can just even let it sit there a little while longer, but I mean, because bleach is an oxidizer, it doesn't oxidize just metal. It oxidizes everything, of course. And that also applies to 40 or 50-year-old plastic. So after you're done cleaning it with the bleach, you want to get it off in its entirety. And then after it's, clean and thoroughly rinsed, you probably want to put like a conditioner, like, some sort of plastic vinyl conditioner back into it, just to feed, all the little plastics or whatever that just got totally dried out by putting a bunch of bleach on this. And yeah, so this is a little bit of this is just soapy water. This comes back quite nicely. So even cleaner than the other side. Anyway, so yeah, I just wanted to share that little tidbit. Hopefully it helps some of the other people out there working on their cars. Alright, well anyway, that's basically it for this episode. Yeah, I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet. I'm not going to rant about anything. That tires me out as much as I'm sure it tires you guys out. So I hope you like this little update. If you guys have any thoughts, let me know. Otherwise, I hope everyone is doing well. The world is crazy. This just is what it is. It's always going to be crazy, but just I guess trust that everything is going to be all right. We're here for some crazy reason, and all we can do is really try and do our best and help people. So I love you guys. I hope that everyone's doing okay, and just enjoy every day. Tell people that you love them, that you want it, that people that you love that you love them, and just keep spreading goodness. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye bye.